Guys, I broke my entire game. I broke it in half, broke it in pieces. It's completely, utterly, completely destroyed. And then I fixed it. Um, and this is what it looks like now. Um, Not a lot different, in all honesty. It was kind of hanging on by a thread. There was like some uh, generation of the tiles, and it was reading some of the information wrong. But it worked functionally, and then I changed something else, and then it stopped working. And it should have never worked in the first place because these errors were always there. And they were just managing to somehow work, even though these errors were still there. So I had to go back inside and I had to create like a whole new algorithm for spawning in the individual tiles. I had to make a whole new algorithm for that, which is like a day's work in of itself. And then to do that as a stepwise thing, so instead of doing them all at one time, it does them on the press of a key. It goes through each one, and then keeping that organized, and then actually tracking down like the issue, um, which actually happened to be with this little guy right here. For some reason, um, whenever it would read this value, it would come out as a -5 instead of +5, which I don't know if you know this, but -5 and +5 are two entirely different numbers. So when I'm referring back to that number that popped out, that neighbor index, way down here, and these guys are all like, "What's that -5?" For those of you who don't know how maps work, this is what this is. This is called a map. This data structure right here. The way that it works is that you have an input value and an output value. So the input value for this particular map is an integer. The output value is a vector um, of 3 parts. So this particular map I use um, to store the locations of the neighbors for each of the individual tiles. So every tile has, unless it's at the edge, it's going to have a neighbor uh, directly above it, one above it to the right, one below it to the right, one below it directly, and then it's a hexagon. So on all 6 sides, it's going to have a neighbor. And these are the actual like coordinates for them. And you may wonder, why are you using like integers like that? I mean, floats like this, like decimal points. Like why? It's because this is based on math and like the square root of 3, and that's just what it needs to be in order for the tiles themselves to be 1 meter radius. Um, this is where they need to be positioned every time they're um, moved. And maybe it would have been smarter to calculate it based on the distance between tiles, such that these values would all be pretty numbers, but the exact dimensions of the tile, which honestly aren't that important, um, maybe it would have been smarter to um, design it that way. And I might go back and do that because that actually seems like a great idea. Um, that way I don't have to worry about these. But not the point. The point being is these are the locations of the tiles. These are the keys. So whenever I ask if whenever I look ask this map, hey, uh, give me give me whatever data is at number 3. It goes and it looks finds number 3, goes and checks this one out. Now, again, there's no -5 in here, because what this is doing is going through each of them. So it's saying, um, give me data, give me the first point, then give me the second point, then give me the third point. And this one is saying, hey, by the way, which one did you just give me? So if you just gave me the first point, I need you to let me know that this was the first point, which is a 0, because arrays start at 0. Um, did you just, and if you just gave me the second point, give me the key for the second one so I can use it later. And so it was inverting this 5 and making it a -5. Um, why it was doing that, I don't know. Um, it had, I do not know why it was doing that. There were also some collision issues. Because the way that I'm um, detecting the neighbors of the tiles. Like, so when a tile gets spawned in, what it functionally does is it looks on all 6 sides and says, "Is there a tile here?" Um, and if there is a tile there, it sets that tile to be its own neighbor. So it says, "Hey, that me, the new tile, I have this new neighbor." And then it also tells that old tile that I'm your new neighbor. So both of them need to know that the other tile is its neighbor. Um, and there were some collision issues where it was detecting itself instead of detecting the next tile. It was detecting the wrong tile. It was detecting the. It was just doing all kinds of stuff that I had to go through and fix and weed out any of the false alarms or the false positives. Um, which is what this is, because this used to be a simple, "Hey, are you the right class?" And it's like, no. Are you the right class? Are you in the exact location you need to be? Um, and then, yeah. So that's what I did for these past 2 days. And I've been trying to upload every single day. I've been trying to make sure I'm working on it every day, and I have worked on it every day. But whatever I was supposed to get done today and yesterday did not get done, because I started doing it and it all broke. And when the ground beneath your feet breaks, it's kind of hard to build on top of it. So we went and we fixed that. Sadly, it took 2 days to do it, but bug fixing is all part of the creative process when it comes to programming. So um, glad we got that done. But that's all for today. Um, tomorrow, we're actually not going to continue on the things that I was supposed to do 2 days ago. um, we're going to set up revision control. And for any of you who knows how revision, what for anyone who doesn't know what revision control is, functionally speaking, it's saving copies of your work midway through your work, so that if you do something really stupid and break your whole game, you can revert it back to a previous state where it wasn't broken, and you're only using a part of your progress between now and your last save versus the whole project, or because you may have to just tear out everything to try and find that error, and sometimes it's easier to just back it up. um, Now, for those of you who knew they were supposed to use revision control and didn't use revision control and suffered the consequences of revision control, yeah, this is I do not want to be one of those people. So um, I think we have all drank the bitter drink of not having to of not using revision control when we knew we were supposed to. But to make my programming professor proud, maybe I'll send him an email and be like, "By the way, I did this." Anyway, it is what it is. All right, I will see y'all tomorrow, and hopefully we have something more than revision control done, um, something more interesting than that. But it is what it is. See y'all tomorrow. Bye.